Happy Sunday, everybody. I haven't had the chance to go over any of the Dirks I've been working on over the last year, but this one I finished in time to go to a wedding. It's not totally finished the way I want it, and there is definitely more work I'm going to do, and there's other work that I could do on it that I just may not get around to doing. But one thing that's noticeable is I didn't do any kind of a brass mouth or chape, but there is space for both of them, especially if I want to have a little ball in the end here and have brass just kind of going along the side there. But I did manage to get a bunch of carving done. I got this grip oiled down. This disc was more on center. However, like I said, there's still some work to do on this. Actually, this cap is a little bit off center from where it was. So it means the grip has moved a little bit. I need to add maybe some wood or some nails inside the handle itself, because the hole is bigger than the tang. I didn't file it. I didn't drill a very small, precise hole that some craftsmen do. You don't really necessarily have to, but you can, and a lot of them do. So the problem in my case is there's only really epoxy, or at least enough epoxy, probably in this part of the handle. The rest of this is actually fairly hollow. I did shove a couple nails or sticks in this end to make it as centered as it is, but it still needs to be more centered. I realize that, I don't know, I keep saying, but yeah, I'm gonna move that. It'll look nicer. This handle's a bit more bulbous up here. That's okay, because historical examples were not always perfect. I didn't actually turn this. I carved it all by hand. I used a box cutter and I used some files. I definitely use a box cutter, especially for all the knot work. So one thing I did not do, which a lot of historical pieces have, is to have a piece of brass along here and then have a couple nails as rivets made out of brass. And then oftentimes they would have an additional piece of brass sticking out here, which would usually be on the inside of the scabbard. But yeah, also I didn't do any kind of file work on the brass to seat the handle. I didn't think it was going to matter as much as it does. It definitely does matter, because this is twisting a little more than I want it to, but not a tremendous amount. That right there, yeah, that is part of the problem. Anyways, I'll fix that. So the nut, I actually made the nut. One second here. Let's see if I can get some better lighting here. The nut, jeez, dude, what's up with this camera? Yeah, there we go. It's a little bit better. So the nut is made, it's not perfectly square. I need to file it. I need to do some other fancy file work, like to make it more like a rosette or a cross. However, in order to do so, I'm gonna have to do some, come on, man, what's going on with this thing? Yeah, there you go. You kind of see the scratches on it. I don't know why my phone's acting this way. That's okay, that's a little bit better. So I had to anneal the brass. So when you first cast brass, it ends up being kind of hard. So then you have to take a torch to it and anneal it and make it nice and soft. That's going to be necessary. I actually put this thing on a vise and tried to file it. It wasn't so easy, so I just kind of attached it after I tapped the thread and went to the wedding. All this was more on center. It looked nicer. This brass wasn't off center. Nothing was wrong with it at the time, other than being quasi unfinished, but kind of quasi finished. What is up with this camera? Come on, there we go. Jeez. All right, that definitely looks way better, but it's probably the lighting in the room too. Anyways, yeah, I did some tooling. It's more 1700 style. There's so many different designs out there, but this is pretty typical. This is not an exact copy from an historical scabbard, but it kind of almost is, because you see these same designs, these same world swirly things, the little dots. You see these almost Confederate flag looking St. Andrew's crosses, some that actually look more like Confederate flags than this. Which of course the Confederate flag is based off the St. Andrew's, flag. But this, I took a little more liberty on this one, but still it's within historical parameters. All the hash marks, sometimes you can do not just lines one way, but actually crisscrossing as well. I decided not to this time. I will do some others that in the future, I hope, if I have time. But I have another Dirk which has more of the proper bollocks on it. If this was done like the other Bollock Dirks, then this wouldn't be sticking up right here. This would actually be kind of, it would kind of go at a diagonal angle right through here. And this whole section would actually be removed. I'm not going to do that. There are Dirks that have this type of shape on the haunches, aka the bollocks, aka kind of where the crossguard would be on a sword. But I like this the way it is. I am going to finish the other ones I'm working on, especially the one that's going to have a little bit more of a plain handle to it, and which will also happen to look a little bit more of your typical historical Jacobite Dirk than this. However, there's something I need to address. Give me a second here. So the blade, this is a windlass Steelcraft blade. So it's made in India. It's actually a regimental Piper Dirk blade. I'm going to actually carve off with an angle grinder carefully some of the shape on the next one, so it's more pointy. It looks more like a Jacobite Dirk. Something kind of cool I did here. I borrowed this concept from Vince Evans Dirks, where the loop kind of does this. I think there are some historical examples of that. In reality, if you do the research, you look at historical artwork as well as historical examples, there are no two Dirks that are the same. They're all different from each other. The leatherwork is different. I mean, even two that are probably the same manufacturer don't look exactly the same. It's just the way it is. So if you want to make a Dirk and you want to make it historical, don't try to make one that's exactly like an historical piece necessarily. Do what I've heard the term historically inspired. I love that term because it's actually more accurate to kind of customize your own piece than to make one that looks exactly like an historical original, because there's so much back and forth carryover. I mean, some had longer grips. Typically though, 3 fingers, and then your pinky goes over here, because typically you would be holding your Dirk like this. You would not typically be holding your Dirk like this. I know a lot of people think that for some reason, because a lot of historical replicas have the 4-finger grip. That is inaccurate for the most part. Of all the historical examples I've seen, there's only like maybe a handful that I've seen, no pun intended, a handful or less, like 2 or 3 that I've seen that actually have the longer grip. Most of them have this style of grip. And to be honest, it feels better. It actually has a tighter grip. It feels, if you're gonna fight with one of these, especially with the reverse grip, you want something more like this. You don't want the longer grip necessarily. Although Rondell daggers had the longer grip, you know, and they work good, but yeah, just kind of throwing that out there. I've trained in some German and Italian medieval dagger fighting, and I love that stuff. And this actually does, once you get used to the different length of grip, it actually works fine. But anyways, just want to throw that out there. So yeah, this is just one of my pieces, and this is one that's the most complete. Again, it would look more complete if that wasn't off center, and if the nut was cleaner. And I'm going to take care of both of those things, especially the nut's going to be the first thing I take care of. Then I'm going to take care of, well, I'm going to take this whole, I'm going to take both these brass pieces off and try to make sure that the tang is a little more center. I'm going to add some epoxy into the grip to make it, just to make it better. It'll also keep the blade from moving around here, even though it's not seated. You know, it'll actually still be fine if there's more epoxy. There's really not that much epoxy in here. And unfortunately, some of the little epoxy that's here has actually kind of come undone. Geez, what is up with this stupid thing? Let me fix this there. You see a bit of an air gap there, which I don't like. So I'll fix it. It'll be nicer, but this is not my favorite piece. Well, at least not my dream piece. Jeez, stupid thing. But hope you guys like it. Let me know what you guys think. I'll be sharing more in the future. Take care. Bye.